Break Ranks is presented in association with Bands of America's Sun Safety partner, Outrun the Sun. This is the podcast helping to create, provide, and expand
winners in life.
Positively life-changing experiences through music for all.
Go for it!
This is the podcast that encourages everyone to
break ranks.
This week on Break Ranks,
band is family.
And that family needs parents, lots of parents.
Just so many opportunities to jump in and be connected.
Whatever skill you have, your band can probably use it.
There's so many different opportunities to get involved, so get involved.
Because the performers on the field are only part of the team.
It's a community supported team event that is just incredible.
There is a place for you, whether you know how to weld, know how to chaperone, or know how to take the stink out of sweaty uniforms without washing them. So how ripe are they right now?
Right now, they're being de-ripened.
We have band booster advice that's ripe for the picking on this week's Break Ranks. Week 6 of the 2025 Bands of America season is in the books. Let's check the recaps. There were only 2 Bands of America events this past weekend, but they were big ones. We go first to the East Coast, Newark, Delaware, and the Mid-Atlantic Regional Championship, where a very familiar name was at the top of the recaps when the evening was over. Here's announcer Alex Liddell at Delaware Stadium.
In first place, with a score of 87.95, 87.950, the 2025 Bands of America Mid-Atlantic Regional Champion, the Norwin High School Marching Band from North Huntingdon, Pennsylvania.
The Norwin Marching Knights, the 1982 BOA Grand National Champs, sweeping all 3 captions and getting past their crosstown Pittsburgh area rivals, Kiski Area High School, by almost 1.5 points to claim gold in Newark. Another Pennsylvania high school, Downingtown West, was third in finals. Norwin was also the Class 2A gold medalist in prelims. Downingtown West was tops in 3A, and North Carolina's Green Hope High School was the 4A champ. BOA's only other contest Saturday was a super regional, and it was so big it was comparable to Grand Nationals in size. More than 90 bands took part in the 2-day Army ROTC Indianapolis Super Regional. And when the finals were over, another crosstown rivalry was momentarily decided. In this case, both of these rivals are from the Indianapolis area. And in first place with a score of 92.70, the 2025 Bands of America Indianapolis Army ROTC Super Regional Champion, the Avon High School Marching Band from Avon, Indiana. 5-time Grand Nationals champ, the Avon Marching Black and Gold, taking general effect and visual in finals to squeak by 6-time Grand Nationals champ, the Carmel Marching Greyhounds, by 65/100ths of a point at Lucas Oil Stadium. Missouri's Blue Springs Golden Regiment was third in finals. In prelims, the Class 1A champ was 7-time BOA Grand Nationals champ Marian Catholic High School. Mississippi's Hernando High School made a long but satisfying trip to Indy, going home with the Class 2A championship. Blue Springs was Class 3A gold medalist, and Avon took the 4A title. I hung out with Avon in the lot and during warm-ups for their prelims performance, and I was amazed by how loose they were in the lot, contrasted with just how focused they were in warm-ups. In the lot, Avon has a tradition called the Brass Circle. Drum major Marissa Kenworthy explained it to me. What am I about to see?
The Brass Hype Circle. So before every show, we get in a big circle with our seniors in the middle, and we just yell at each other. It's kind of fun.
You just yell whatever?
Kind of.
A little bit organized. Okay. I got to check this out.
Yeah.
It's going to be great. One by one, seniors climb up a ladder in the center of that circle to hype up their classmates. It's energetic, it's chaotic, and it's just fun.
We have to take advantage of every opportunity we have. We only have 6 shows here. We only have 7 shows left in the entire season.
But once inside Lucas Oil Stadium's indoor warm-up facilities, the goofiness is gone and everyone is tightly focused. It was an amazing example of just how well-trained these performers are, but how they're also just kids. Thanks, Mighty Avon, for letting me witness your entire pre-show routine. It was inspiring. In a moment, a must-hear interview for any band booster, whether they are new to this whole scene or have been around for years. But first, a word from Bands of America's Sun safety partner, Outrun the Sun. Dermatologist Dr. Christy Waterman's already pointed out the importance of reapplying sunscreen regularly when you're outside for long periods of time. She says that is extremely important if you're sweating or swimming. Dr. Waterman, are there specific sweat-resistant or water-resistant products or tricks that help and you don't, maybe you don't have to reapply as much?
Sure. So sunscreens actually function by forming an even layer of protection on the skin to shield it from ultraviolet radiation. So sweating disrupts this layer and inhibits it from working properly, which is why sunscreen should not be your only line of defense during long rehearsals outside. Choosing a sunscreen that is water resistant or waterproof is a good place to start, but reapplication is still key. I think a lot of people convince themselves that they've put their sunscreen on at 10 a.m. and they're good for the day, but that is simply not true. That's never how sunscreen was intended to work. That's not how it works, and you'll lure yourself into a false sense of security.
Next time, chemical-based sunscreen versus mineral-based. Which is better? Our thanks to Outrun the Sun for being Bands of America's sun safety partner. This time on Break Ranks, we take a look at the most critical resource any band program can have, and that is a strong parent booster organization. And to find out how you build one of those and what they do, the logistics that go on behind the scenes of a Bands of America show, we're bringing in a couple from Bentonville High School in Bentonville, Arkansas, Melissa Brown and David Clements, two of the lead parents in the organization. That gets, David, how many members in the Bentonville Pride?
Melissa's more of the expert on the numbers.
So right now we're marching 278, and we have about 65 more kids that are academic band. So they do a band class. They're in a concert band of some sort, but they're not in the marching band.
The Bentonville band program itself has grown by leaps and bounds. I have witnessed it firsthand. Of course, I'm in northeastern Oklahoma. You're in northwestern Arkansas. We're virtually neighbors. I've seen Bentonville not only at Bands of America shows, but also at local invitationals. And every year it seems like this band gets better and better. They were second last weekend at St. Louis with their show Sequence, which if you haven't seen, folks, and you need to see this one live, but what they have done with the costuming of this band really needs to be appreciated live. In any case, it's just a long way of saying I've seen some incredible growth in the Bentonville band program over the last 2 decades. Which one of you would like to tell us a little bit about the history of this program?
I'll go ahead and start. I'm a Bentonville native, so I was born and raised here. And my family came to Bentonville in the mid-50s, and there was a band program then. My sisters are quite a bit older than I am and graduated in the early 70s, and they were in band. I was in band. I graduated high school in 1990. And at that time, we had about 60 members in our band.
Wow. And were you doing like contests at that time too, or was it primarily just Friday night football games?
We did Friday night football games, and our big chance to shine was our region assessment. So we would go and march with about, I would say, 15 to 18 other bands from like the 2-county area. And that was the big deal, was to go and do well and try to get ones at region assessment. And we didn't always do that, but that's what we were shooting for.
David, if you look at the growth of the Bentonville band program, it tracks with the growth of Bentonville itself and the whole Northwest Arkansas region, right? With the Walmart influence and the rapid growth and development of the cities there.
It really does. The band program, had gotten really big. The whole high school had gotten really big. And 10 years ago, we opened a second high school across town at neighboring city of Centerton. And that's when both kind of hit a little bit of a reset, right? Bentonville kept all of the seniors, but then they split them, the rest of them, juniors through freshmen. That was actually my first year in the program. So my son, JD, was a trumpet player and a freshman the year that the two high schools split. And so from there, it has just kind of exploded. Bentonville High School has grown and gotten bigger. Bentonville West has grown and has already expanded. They're making them both equal now as far as student enrollment. But our program at Bentonville, we're back to actually bigger than we were before the split as far as number of kids and the number of performers on the field each weekend.
Why do you think that is?
There's a multitude of reasons. I think success breeds success, right? There's a strong culture. Everybody knows it. Our director, Tim Hendricks, is an easy guy to love, right? The kids love him. The parents love him. And we get to do some just incredibly fun things, right? And the competitions are now, like Melissa said, with regional assessment back when she was going to school. Now our time to shine is getting to go compete against these incredible bands from Oklahoma, from Texas, Missouri, Indiana, right? Like, it's just so much fun to just get to go out there and band is family. And so we saw it with our second place finish and the congratulations we got from the Owasso parents and some of the other parents, right, that we see all the time at invitationals and everything else. And it's just really great. Broken Arrow, they're always going to win St. Louis, it feels like, right? And it's so fabulous to come in second place to them and just continue to try to close that gap. But I mean, they're the gold standard in this area, right? And so to be standing on the podium next to them and to share visual effect with them, I mean, it's just an amazing, amazing time. And it's just great to see it grow. That's, I think, at least part of the reason. The community, as you said, has just grown with leaps and bounds. I think it's still Northwest Arkansas is one of the top 10 fastest growing areas in the United States. And we've just benefited from that through great leadership in our administration, great leadership from Tim, just thinking through all of those things about how do you strive for excellence in the Bentonville Public Schools and bring that down even to your level of your individual activities such as marching band, concert band.
And I've been around long enough to know that there's a common thread between the Broken Arrow and Bentonville band programs, and that is Scott Tomlinson, who's now on the Bands of America contest crew. Scott and is back at Broken Arrow as an assistant band director, but Scott was head band director of BA and then became head band director of Bentonville. And that's when a lot of the changes started to happen at Bentonville.
That's exactly right. So 10 years ago, when I first got in the program with my oldest, Scott was still the director. Tim was the assistant, and it was Scott's final year here when he was going to go into his, I think, second retirement. And now he's headed towards third retirement, probably.
If he ever gets there. And before I leave this topic, David, Melissa was born in a band family and grew up with this. You were new to it with your kids. Tell me about your first experience and, your realization about how big this is.
Yeah, I grew up a choir kid, Central Arkansas Christian small school. We didn't even have a band. With JD, when we first started, they were doing In Plain Sight was Scott's last BOA competition piece for Bentonville. And just to see them put that on the field, JD and I went to their send-off performance right before they were headed to Indianapolis that fall. And just there in our own Tiger Stadium, it was mind-blowing what they were putting on the field. I likened it, as I was trying to explain it to my parents in Little Rock, I said, this is like a Broadway show on the football field, right? Like, they've got props, they've got soloists, they've got big ensemble pieces, they're moving constantly, the uniforms are customized to the show. It's incredible. It's like you're seeing something you would liken to a big Broadway show being put there on the field. It was just crazy.
Well, and Melissa, that big Broadway show has to travel down the road, has the largest cast of any Broadway show, is, as David said, performed outside on a football field, and with all of the costuming and props of a Broadway show. That's where you guys really come in. This is where the parents pick up the production and shine. Let's talk about costuming first, because I know that's your specialty, especially this year. Looking at Bentonville's costumes, they are, from my perspective in the stands, it looked like they were all sequins on the front and then the darkest black you could possibly imagine on the back. and when they turn, and I'm not going to give any spoilers here, but they use that color difference between front and back extremely effectively in their show. All those sequins, the importance of those uniforms visually, a lot comes down to the uniform crew here, Melissa.
Yeah.
Take us through the process of fitting everybody and making those fabulous costumes look nice all season.
We do have a great team that is in place. Beth Neely is our uniform chair on the board, and she has recruited over time a great uniform team that sews, that fits, that helps organize as the sewers are sewing, cleaning team, all these things that help us get those uniforms on the right kid, looking great, each one.
Roughly how many do you have on the uniform crew?
I would say there are probably about 8 to 10 that can be brought in to sew or to pin or to cut. And really, when they get started working, it's an assembly line. They've got a shop going. They're near the gymnasium. And so, they're trying to make it as efficient as possible, because when you're doing that to 300 uniforms, time is of the essence. So if you're hemming everybody's pants, can't take an hour to do a pair of pants. It's got to be done quickly and done correctly. So they have a great process that they work together to make an assembly line.
And explain to us, when you get your shipment of costumes or uniforms in, did they just come in generic, small, medium, large size? How do they come? And what modifications do you have to make to them?
Back in May, we had to collect all those measurements from each one of those kids before we let them get away for summer vacation.
Wow.
before June happens, we've got to get all that information and get that submitted. And then we tell the kids, okay, so now you're not allowed to grow until November.
I was just thinking that. No kid's going to grow in 4 months.
Oh, no, of course not. We do order a few extra uniforms to try to account for if we have somebody that grows. And this year, we did have a couple of kids that absolutely had a growth spurt over the summer, and their uniform nowhere near fit them. And it was to the point where it could not even be altered. So we worked with our costuming company, and they were able to remake those 2 uniforms and get those to us before we had a competition.
How do you clean a uniform that's half sequined?
We did some experimentation, and we found that with this particular fabric, anyway, it was just a little too precious and a little too dangerous to do very much washing at all, which is a terrible thing to think when we know they're so athletic and they're moving so much out on the field. We know that they're going to sweat.
Yeah, I've been in the tunnel many times. I know exactly what a band smells like after a couple of contests. So how ripe are they right now?
Right now, they're being de-ripened because what we came up with, the solution to our issue was that we would put them in a storage trailer. We run an ozone machine inside the trailer.
That's ingenious.
And so right now, like this very minute, they are being ozonated.
Where did you learn that?
Where did we learn that? I think we learned it from one of our show designers had that idea, and he had seen that used in other programs. Anything that we learn generally comes from other bands. You know, you try to cultivate those relationships and find out how everybody does everything else. Yeah, that was a great idea that came to us.
That is incredible. Is the show design, is that Wes Pendergrass?
It is, yeah.
What a brilliant man. I can't say enough good stuff about Wes Pendergrass. He's amazing. David, let's talk a little bit about the vision of getting that show on the field right now, because it's one thing for Tim Hendricks and Wes Pendergrass to have that vision of what they want to see on the field. It's another thing entirely to get those set pieces and props designed and built to last for the entire season. That is more your side of things. When do you guys get instructions about, how to build the props? You've got a big double helix in your show this year. When do those instructions come down, and take us through the process of building them and who your volunteers are? And do you farm anything out?
Yeah, great question. So we like to have kind of they'll always give us an artist rendering of what they think the props should look like. And that's where we always start. And Wes and Tim usually get that to us in the spring break, even to like late April timeframe. So anywhere in that 4 to 6 week period. And so at that point, we start talking, okay, I see the rendering. I see what you're after. What are the dimensions? And we start with the dimensions, like how wide are you wanting this to be? We have learned through many years, how many kids do you plan on putting on top of this thing? Do you plan on anybody climbing on anything? Do you plan on it moving during the show? Do you plan on it having any extra sort of features, like, is it going to spin? Do you want it to spin? Does it have lights? Does it have any interaction, right? Like, does it have to hold microphones? Does it have to, have any sort of special thing that they plan on in the drill? And that's a really tough question to be asking them that early in the season. So we kind of take their answer and then add a factor of safety of, okay, they said there's going to be 5 kids on here. We're going to assume there's 15, and just kind of go from there. But we learned years ago when we made the infamous cakes that went to St. Louis and Indianapolis. I think the BOA meme we always share around with the pit crew is there's no prop too big. And it's funny because that picture that's trying to go out the St. Louis exit was actually too big to fit through that door. Mm-hmm. And for anybody who's been to St. Louis, that is a massive door, and the cakes were bigger than the door. Yeah, that was a learning year. We actually, you forge yourself through fires, and that was one of those fires we forged ourselves through. And we learned really quickly that metal is the answer almost always. It's lighter and stronger than treated timber. So we just kind of start every year assuming, okay, we're going to build something out of metal. We're going to build it out of steel. We're going to weld it together. We also had a brilliant idea a few years ago. I guess it's been 4 or 5 years ago. We keep building basically these same bases that we put something on top of. Why don't we come up with a generic design of a base that we can put casters on, and then we can put anything we want to on top of it? So that's one of our things that we did innovative-wise a few years ago. We've built bases that are a standard size. We know they'll go through any door. We know we can link them together and make them bigger. We can put just about anything we want to on top of it, whether it's 20 tuba players or 5 color guard members. So we start there and we kind of build up from that. We've gotten lucky the last few years. That has actually for 4, almost 5 years, that's worked perfectly. And it's kind of the base for everything we do, both winter guard and fall BOA productions.
To do that, though, you've got to have parents who maybe have fabrication experience, have design experience, and, oh, by the way, are willing to give all that time to the band program.
Yes.
David, how do you find those people?
We start every May, so we have a mandatory meeting in May for all the new parents and all the existing parents, and we just basically kind of market ourselves, right? So we've got this really fun slide presentation we put together, and it just runs constantly. We hold our mandatory meeting in our Aaron's Art Center, a beautiful facility that we have on campus, and then in the foyer of that facility, we have different tables set up for the board members, for the boosters to use, to kind of solicit parent involvement. Of course, we show all the fun pictures, right, of us, putting stuff together, us traveling, us doing fun things, right? And then we show them the real pictures of, hey, this is us, loading in these 5 trailers worth of equipment. And this is us in the metal shop welding stuff together. And here's pictures of us in the wood shop cutting things down and making them work just right. We do almost all of our stuff in-house until it gets time to start printing something. So you've seen our giant 23 chromosome dots, right, that float around on the field during our show this year for sequence. Those are actually printed by a third-party company, and they give us an incredible deal because it's a band parent, right, that is a manager at that facility. And so we get those printed, and then we make them fit the design that Wes and Tim and the design staff have. We decorate them up after that, and then we just keep going. The pit crew it was a blast. Like I said, I got into this 10 years ago. JD started marching 9 years ago. I joined the pit crew because I had an F-150 and I could pull one of the smaller trailers that had all the sound equipment in it. And from there, you just kind of, I think my guys and girls would tell you just kind of get sucked in from there, right? And you get more and more involved.
Yes.
All of a sudden you realize I'm spending 1 to 2 nights a week, 52 weeks a year, just about.
Wow.
Except for June. We try to take June off because that's when the kids get off. So there's lots of family vacations, things happening during June that we try not to work. But other than that, we're in one of the shops working on props or fixing something or going and picking up trailers or going and making, another trip for the band, whether it's to the Dallas Winds or, anywhere else. We're constantly in the move. And I cannot say enough about the members of the crew that just show up every week, every weekend, whether we're controlling traffic on Tuesday night after practice and we have to move all of those props back behind the school. So our stadium is on one side of a 5-lane urban arterial road in the middle of Bentonville.
Oh, no.
And our high school's on the other side of that.
Oh, my.
So we have to cross and block traffic every Tuesday night just to get everything back where it goes on the school side.
Let's continue on with that theme of moving now, because the stuff we've talked about so far is preseason, is before you actually hit the road in large part. But then you got to take that over 300 people and move them down the road, keep them fed, get to the contest site on time, unload all the equipment. There's a flow that happens, and it takes a lot of experience and a lot of bodies to do that. Let's focus first on the transportation and getting stuff on the truck and out at the contest site. How many parents does it take to go on the road?
I'll take first, since we're talking trucks and equipment and on and off. So we always measure it in field passes, right? How many field passes do you need this weekend? So we have 19 field passes for the pit crew to go along with the design staff. And that's the parents that it takes to push everything on and off the field as we go into competition. And then of those 19, there are about 8 to 10 that travel with the trucks. And when I say the trucks, we have a 53-foot semi. We have 2 30-foot car haulers, 8.5 by 30-foot car haulers, and 2 7 by 18 cargo trailers that it takes to move everything this year. And it's quite an endeavor. The new trailers, we don't have them logoed yet, but it's really impressive when we're totally logoed. It looks like a DCI band. It looks like something else, caravanning down the road. It's quite impressive. We have lots of cool videos of us passing different monuments, the arch, or, pulling into Lucas Oil Stadium or something. But yeah, it takes 5 trucks to move us. And we usually have a car or 2 with parents that are, driving along to help us, stay together and keep that communication all the way down.
Are those CDL parents that are driving the trucks, or do you have to hire drivers?
No, we have a fabulous sponsor through another band parent in Tyson Foods. And Tyson Foods Transportation Department provides us with a truck and driver for all of our out-of-town trips.
Oh, my goodness. That's really a plus, huh?
Yeah, we've got a director and a couple of parents who have CDLs, but it got to, especially right around COVID, really hard to get a hold of a semi, right? With all the demand on the supply chain that was happening. And right about then, one of our parents stepped in and said, "Hey, I work for Tyson. I think we can make something happen. Let me see what we can do." And here we go. We're now a partner of theirs, and they're fabulous to work with. Their drivers is one of my 19 passes because they're so into this and they love it so much. They're helping us push props on and off the field.
How do you feed them? How do you keep them hydrated on the road?
It takes a lot of planning and packing, and we take up some of the space in David's trailers. with groceries.
Because, of course, a DCI drum corps is going to have a food truck
Right.
most of the time.
Right.
You guys don't have one of those.
We don't have that. We do a lot of planning as soon as we can see an itinerary for a trip. We want to start planning the food and how that's going to fit into when we can get them out of their uniforms so that they're not eating in uniform, how that day is going to flow. We don't want to feed them too close to when they're going to compete. So it's all a balance of when we can feed them, because we know we're going to feed them at least 4 times a day. So we're looking at what worked last time. What did they enjoy in St. Louis last time? What did they enjoy in Indy last time? Can we repeat that? Can we do better even than that? And also looking at the budget, what kind of budget we have for each of those meals.
Can I ask, how much do you budget for meals per student?
We don't really budget per student, but to feed the band, I'm looking at trying to keep it around $2,000 or less per meal. So when you're doing that multiple times a day. Yeah.
What we do is expensive, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. But we do have great sponsors, and we have great families that are willing to help us out with in-kind donations and things like that. So just looking at the places that we can eat that will cater for us and that will provide us with like the special meals that we need for our kids that are vegetarian, our kids that are gluten-free, things like that, allergies that we need to avoid. We do get our list of these are our go-to kind of spots. I would say over in your area, we definitely, if we're at an Oklahoma competition, we always try to hit Charlie's Chicken because they're ubiquitous.
Right.
They provide what we need for all of our different dietary kids. And oh my goodness, the kids love that. So that's a special deal. When we go to Oklahoma, we always do that.
What I'm hearing you say is that it's a variety of it all depends on where the performers, where the kids are at that moment. So if they're coming out of a contest and they're waiting for the prelims award ceremony, maybe it's a Charlie's Chicken sack lunch in the lot. If you have some time off, you've done prelims one day and you got finals the next day, maybe you take them somewhere. Maybe you serve them in the hotel where you're staying. Do I have that right?
Yes. Yeah, we're looking at that specific setting, where we are and where we are in the day and where we are in relationship to when they're going to compete, because we want them to be at their best when it's time to compete.
Do you guys feel like when they do well, do you feel, personal success and that you really had a part in that?
I definitely feel proud of the kids, and it is a team effort. Like, you definitely feel proud of the organization and that you've been able to be a part of that. But yeah, I think it's all on the field for me.
It really is all about what the kids and the directors can pull off, but there is an absolute sense of pride. So a very famous founder of a major corporation in this area once said that the secret is we're all in this together. You can feel that throughout the parent organization. This is a team event. It's a community supported team event that is it's just incredible. And we all feel so proud. And like I said, just realizing a dream 2 years ago when you announced that we were a Grand National finalist band. I mean, I get choked up every time I think about that. It's just it's an incredible realization.
There's one thing I haven't asked about when it comes to taking the band on the road. This is for both of you as well. I have been in countless hotels where bands have been staying in the same hotel. And it's always interesting to me to see how different bands handle the chaperone situation with high school kids in a hotel. Some places, they'll station a parent on that floor that has visibility all the way up and down the hall. I've seen them take tape and put tape over the doors to know that the doors did not get open overnight. How does Bentonville handle the overnight stay, and how do your chaperones work?
We also have a great chaperone group and chaperone team. We have a lead, Shannon Miller, who is in charge of training all those chaperones and making sure that they know what the rules are for them and what the rules are for the kids, what we expect from the kids. We talk in great detail about our itinerary and when we need the kids to be ready, when we need them to move, what we need them to be dressed in, and what we need them to be ready to do. That chaperoning group works because they have veteran chaperones, and we try to bring in a new group of rookie chaperones every year, and they're going to be paired up with a vet so that they learn on the job, basically, how we're going to work with the kids, how we're going to encourage the kids, how we're going to keep them pumped up on the day of the competition, how we're going to calm those nerves. And they're prepared with their chaperone pack. So they have a little first aid kit. They have things that they need that they might be able to address the bumps in the road along the way for the kids. But we're there to cheer them on and to give them the information that they need so that they can be where they need to be with the things that they need to have at the right time.
I love the chaperone kit idea. I wonder how many bands do that. That is a fantastic idea. And honestly, you guys, it's been one great idea after another. And I hope that there are parent boosters who are listening to this show going, oh, we got to try that. We got to try that. I guess my advice to them would be don't be afraid to reach out to Bentonville or any other band program where you see an idea, because they do share them. And we have Advocacy and Action Awards at Bands of America and Music for All, where bands and parent booster organizations share their best ideas. So that's a great resource as well. Before we go, I want to go to each of you and get your just one bit of advice to the new band parent. Maybe they got a freshman child, it's their first kid in band.
Oh, wow.
What is your advice about finding your right place in the booster organization?
As a brand new parent, you want to go every time that there's an opportunity to meet other parents. So if that's the required parent meeting, or it's a Friday night and you're going to watch them in the stands, or it's some kind of pit crew training that you think you might be interested in doing, informational meeting, go to those things and start meeting parents and start asking questions. Eventually, you'll find your people, and that might be 2 or 3. It might even just be one veteran parent that can answer those questions as they come up, because they come up randomly. Oh, well, I'd never thought about what do I need to send with my kid to St. Louis, or where do we need to stay? What hotel should we try for in Indianapolis so that we can be close to the competition? If you have a veteran parent that you've linked up with, it's an easier text to your buddy, to your friend, than it would be trying to ask that
Of a stranger.
to your director or to somebody that, maybe doesn't have the right amount of time or the right answer for you. It's better to go for somebody that's a veteran parent there. And then just try to go to every competition so that you can see that show develop, and you're going to fall in love with it and get involved as quickly as you can. So if you have an interest in sewing, or if you have an interest in welding, you have a CDL and you're interested in traveling with pit crew or pushing on, there's so many different opportunities to get involved. So get involved. And yeah, you're gonna still be involved, and you're gonna be thinking, well, my kid's graduating this year. I don't know. These are my buddies now. I kind of like to stick around and
put a pin in that, because you're jumping ahead of me, Melissa. That was going to be my last question. Are you guys lifers now? So hold on to that thought. We'll come back to that. But David, what would you tell the new band parent?
So much like Melissa said, I wrote a note here on my pad. It just said, dive in. Right. So there are so many opportunities that we provide, I know, for our band, and we've gotten ideas from other bands, right? So we've gotten ideas from Castle. We've gotten ideas from Broken Arrow and Owasso and Union, from years of talking to them and partnering with them about different ideas. And it's, like I said, band is family, right? We have Tuesday nights. We have Tuesday nights under the lights. Every Tuesday night, our director opens practice from 8 to 9, and you get to see the kids actually doing it. And it's a fabulous time to see your kids and watch the show grow. It's also a fabulous time to ask those questions, right? Come in and be in the crowd. And, when the kids are doing something on the field and you're a little more free to talk and you're not watching them perform, you can find those veteran parents. You can ask those questions. That mandatory parent meeting in May, it's funny, it talks a lot about the program and introduces people to fees and how we handle practices and how the directors expect, things from your kids at certain times of the year. But it's also it's like a giant swap meet right out in the foyer. You go out there and, like Melissa said, if you have skills in sewing, go talk to Beth. If you're a natural nurturer or a teacher who loves spending time with kids, or you just want to know what your kid is up to all the time, go talk to Shannon and be a chaperone, right? If you have ever held a hammer, used a saw, driven a truck, if you can back up a trailer, I want to talk to you, right? Come talk to us in the pit crew. So it's really just so many opportunities to jump in and be connected. We also have a fabulous Facebook group. My wife actually runs that for us. And it's got just endless years of, questions and answers and explanations of how do competitions work? Why is there a prelim and a final? What does it mean if you get, a caption? What are they talking about? And what do these scores mean? And what's the highest score? And what's BOA? What are y'all talking about? BOA. Like, so it's
Bank of America?
Yeah, exactly. So it's just the opportunities that are there. You just have to take that and jump in. Your kids are jumping into something brand new to them. They've been working towards it, right? We start them in middle school, junior high, and then all of a sudden you hit the high school campus as a freshman. And yeah, it's the band you've wanted to be in, since you were in middle school, but all of a sudden it's real and you have to be there for 3 weeks in July before school starts. So they're doing all these things. Just get in there and jump in with them, as they discover this, and you will make lifelong friends when you do.
David Clements, are you a Bands of America lifer, do you think?
It was funny. So Mr. Hendricks and Wes Pendergrass both told me when I told them, okay, my youngest is a senior, I guess this is Swan Song. And I think Tim's exact words were, that's really cute that you think you get to retire when your last kid graduates. So I think I might be. Yeah, I might be.
How about you, Melissa Brown? Are you a lifer?
That's a funny question because my daughter graduated in May and here I am.
Here you are. So you've already taken the first step.
Yeah. Because now I tell when we introduce parents to each other and they're talking about, I'm so-and-so and my daughter's a 10th grader. I'm so-and-so and my son is a freshman. I'm like, I'm Melissa Brown and these are all my kids out here. So they're all my kids now. So we'll see how long it goes. It's a fun ride. So why would I give it up?
Bentonville High School band boosters, Melissa Brown and David Clements. My thanks to both of them for some very useful advice to all band parents. This weekend, there are BOA regionals in Rancho Cucamonga, California, White, Georgia, and Moscow, Idaho. We'll recap them all and visit with legendary Utah band director John Miller on the next show. Break Ranks is presented in association with Outrun the Sun, Bands of America's sun safety partner. I'm Dan Potter. Go for it. Break Ranks.